that as a husband and father, too, that one looks at how one has contributed to shaping and forming their spouse in the tenderness that one shares and loves one spouse, how very important that is, that we don't just take one another for granted in the married life, but truly see the blessing of the other person and to rejoice in that gift of grace of having someone to share your life in a very intimate way.
One of my most treasured memories is how I was lucky enough to be the flower girl, along with my cousin Brady as ring bearer, 30 years ago at Kim and Derrin's wedding. Derrin rocked the stash as always, while I rocked my mullet. My husband Adam has asked me several times, how come I can't have a mustache like Raleigh and Derrin? I said, because only they can pull it off. Grandma and Grandpa had 8 children. It's somewhat funny when some people say, 8 kids, how do you keep them all straight? Well, it's easy. Derrin being 3rd youngest, you start from the top. Dwayne, Eddie, Joy, Raleigh, Stacy, Derry, Trevi, Courtney. Yes, it takes some practice. I was 9 or 10 years old and was out at the farm babysitting Austin. Derrin had come home with the tractor, come in the house, and said he needed a ride back to the field. So I said, okay. So we hopped in the blue Dodge. Remember the blue Dodge? And away we went. When we arrived, he jumped out and headed for the tractor, while I waited patiently in the passenger side. He looked back and said, okay, I'll meet you at the farm. I said, huh, what? He said, take the pickup home and I'll meet you there. I said, I'm not driving this thing. He said, well, why not? I said, because there's a stick in the middle and I don't know how that works. He laughed and he said, it's easy, just don't go over 20 then you won't have to shift. So that's exactly what I did, and I bawled the whole way to the farm. Drove it back, 20 miles an hour, hoping and praying to God that I would not have to shift. He called shortly after to make sure I made it okay, then proceeded to laugh hysterically at me. Last April, after one of the snowstorms, Adam and Derrin were putting a flatbed on one of Derrin's pickups. I know this was one of Adam's fondest memories. When Adam came in that night, he said, well, Chubb and I are heading for Arizona. I said, I'm sorry, you're what? He said, yep. So I sent Derrin a text. Hey, what's this? They hear you and Peterson are heading to Arizona the next snowfall, and you're leaving me here with the kids? And Derrin's response was, well, he wasn't supposed to tell you until we got down there. Our family trips to the hills on Labor Day weekend, 4-wheeling, pontooning, relaxing, and Derrin telling the best stories. We loved when Derrin comes along, because he was the one who would make the decision right away, while the rest of us sat around, well, yeah, I suppose. Well, all right, I guess. Shall we? Yeah, why not? Derrin would just say, we're not hauling the 4-wheelers, we're leaving from the cabin, only to just head down to Rex Springs where we would visit some more. And 2 weeks ago, opening deer season, my brother Cole had gotten a nice buck first thing that morning. So Adam and I were sitting and waiting. Thought I'd text Uncle Derrin, see how and what he was doing. He said, oh, I'm fine, just sitting in my chair. What are you doing? I said, well, I'm deer hunting, or trying to anyway. I'm looking for the 30-point buck. Have you seen the 30-pointer? Derrin said, yep, Cole already got him. I said, thanks for letting me down easy. And he giggled. I always love going out to the barn. On Saturday mornings to help milk cows. No, at that age I was no help at all, but I really loved my company. From graining the cows to Derrin telling me, go get in the milk room, while he let out a not so nice cow. Or to he and Dad putting me on the top of a cow's back while I rode it out of the barn. I was not old enough for this, guys. There was never a dull moment. To Kim and the boys, You're the three strongest people I we know. Obviously, these are only a few of the many memories that I cherish them forever. And I know that we aren't to play favorites, but this time will always have a special place in my heart.
Derrin had a big infectious smile and he had a twinkle in his eye, and he liked to call me and some of my brothers, and you all know who you are, he called us city boys. And let me tell you, being called a city boy is not probably the most complimentary thing in the world that you can be called by the country boy himself, Derrin. And it just, he'd get that twinkle in his eye, and I remember maybe it was a few years ago, Derrin was, during hunting season, Derrin was telling us how to get from one field to another, and we had to go down through a pasture, and we had to open the gate, and of course he said, be sure and hook the gate back up so the cattle don't get out and stuff. And it was a tight stretch fence, so I think we had, he said, you're gonna have to lower your shoulder a little bit and put some English onto the gate in order to get it shut. And then he kind of looked at me and he smiled, and that twinkle came in his eye, and he says, you think there's going to be enough city boys in that pickup to get that gate shut? Or should I send Tanner down to the four-wheeler to shut it? That's just the kind of way he was. We just, I always got along great with Derrin, and he had a good sense of humor, and I always appreciated that about him. Derrin, his nickname, a lot of people called him Big Fella, and he was a real kind person, and he was kind of a gentle giant, you might say, as a person. And one of my favorite memories of him was after Austin tragically lost his life. Kim and Derrin went over to clean out Austin's place, and they got over there, and there was Austin's dog, JC. And Derrin Kim already had 2 or 3 dogs. The last thing they probably needed was another dog in the family. JC was a wonderful dog. She's a beautiful dog. She had a wonderful personality, and of course, Derrin and Kim being what they were, they took JC home and welcomed her into their family. And my brother Travis captured a picture 2 years ago when JC and Derrin were inseparable on the farm. Wherever Derrin went on the four-wheeler, JC was right there with him every single time. And 2 years ago, Derrin had been in the hospital. He'd been gone for a while, and so then when he got back, he went out on the four-wheeler. Of course, JC jumped right in there. And there's a picture, and I saw it back on the table tonight. It reminded me. And there's JC, Derrin sitting in the four-wheeler, and JC's got her head laying up on Derrin's shoulder with her eyes closed. And she was just so happy to see Derrin back, back at the farm and stuff like that. Those two bonded, Derrin and JC bonded like you would not believe. They were inseparable out on the farm. If Derrin got in the four-wheeler, JC was right there to go with him. And I got thinking maybe it was kind of therapy for Derrin. That JC in some respects maybe was a connection back to Austin. That maybe JC, like I said, connected Derrin with Austin up in heaven. It was 4 years ago, in 2015, again, we were out here for hunting season. We always have a big family potluck get-together out in Derrin's shop. He's got a real nice shop, cleans up well for hunting guys. And so we always have a big family picnic out there on Saturday nights. And it was getting toward the end of the night, and somehow Derrin and I were ended up at the table by ourselves there. And it was in the middle of harvest, and I'd heard these stories from Kim or somebody, Derrin was having back pain or back issues of some sort, and I live out of state, I didn't think much about it, but I could tell then that it was just Derrin and I sitting there. I could tell he was in pain, he'd wince, he'd shift his weight, and so I pressed him. I said, Derrin, what's going on here? he looked at me and he thought for a minute, and tears rolled up in his eyes. And he says, I think I'm going to be going to join Austin, he said. And this was before, he'd not seen a single doctor yet, he'd not had a single test. He was trying to get the harvest done, this is the middle of harvest, and he wanted to get that done, and then he was gonna have things checked out. But Derrin, I think Derrin knew in his mind, deep down inside, what his life's journey was ahead before the doctor even talked to him. And so then we got that notice, notice from Kim, the first of many updates that Kim kindly provided to the rest of the family. And I can't tell you enough what a warrior Kim has been throughout this whole process. And I can't tell you how many times my wife told me that how lucky that Derrin was to have Kim in his corner, taking care of, managing her care, advocating for Derrin, challenging the medical teams when it was appropriate and they needed to be challenged to get the right care for Derrin and things like that. Kim was just truly a trooper and a warrior, and everyone thanks her. Had Kim, Tanner, and Marshall Morgan have had a very tough road here the past several weeks, the toughest of them all, up and down, and taking care of Derrin and getting him to the final landing here at the end of the line. One thing I know that he really liked, Marshall, was your Zoom chats. Visiting with him when he'd set up an appointment. He'd set up an appointment with him, and I know he looked forward to those, and he really enjoyed those a lot. Tanner, one thing I heard about you is that you were having one of many discussions, I think, about succession planning and taking over the farm and stuff like that. And he took your hand and he said, "Tanner, you got this, buddy." And my vote is with you, Tanner. You're going to grow up. There's going to be some growing pains, but at the end of the day, you're going to be fine. Just hang in there, and you got it, bud. And Kim, I don't know what more I can say. The only thing I know is that you guys have been through a whole lot in the past 5 years, and probably even more before that and stuff like that. And all I know is that God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And I think that's a testimony to you that you are very strong people, because you've dealt with a lot these past few years. So you're very strong people. We thank you for that. What a man leaves behind with his family is kind of a testament to his character, to his life, about what he leaves behind as his family. And looking at you, looking at your family, there's no question in my mind that Derrin must have been a very fine man. And so we simply ask that God bestow upon you the blessings, and that during this difficult time, the peace that passes all human understanding, and that you work through this. And to the country boy himself, I would simply say that until we meet again, fare thee well and goodbye. Thank you.
Grant that Derrin may rest here in peace until you awaken him to glory, for you are the resurrection and the life. Then he will see you face to face, and in your light will see light, and know the splendor of God, for you live and reign forever and ever.
Amen. Amen.
Because God has chosen to call Derrin from this life to himself, we commit his body to the earth. For we are dust, and unto dust we shall return. But the Lord Jesus Christ will change our mortal bodies to be like his in glory. For he is risen, the firstborn from the dead. So let us commend Derrin to the Lord, that the Lord may embrace him in peace, and raise up his body on the last day.